Hi everybody, welcome to the second Sunday. This is So Steady's Facebook Live with Kate Quinn, and this is featuring ruler work quilting on your long arm frame. So Westalee's been around for quite a while at this point, and when Leonie West started, she was a long armor. So a lot of her initial stuff was really developed for long armors, and we just really have not capitalized on that. A lot of the stuff that we've done for years and years has really been focused on making things accessible for domestic sewing machines. And it's unfortunate because she has a lot of amazing tools that you can use on your long arm. So today I want to demonstrate this tool, and it's called the Westalee Longarm Crosshatching Guide. And I've got it kind of together, but I'm just going to take it apart a little bit just to show you that it's two pieces. And I'm going to hold up the screws so that you can see them really well. These will come with it. The bar comes by itself, this part, and then there's different guides that you can buy, right, that are different shapes, different sizes. So this bar is a straight edge bar, and you can see, just like always, it's marked at the 1/2 inch, so we can easily mark these off. It even has 1 inch markings across the top. So if you had different measurements that you just wanted, like you wanted a 10-inch line or whatever, you can actually use the lines that are on there. On each end, it's got some holes right there. This one is the hanging hook, and these two are the ones that go with the screws that come with it. So this is what they look like. What? They're just some little hex head screws. They look like this. And this tool comes with it. You'll get this with the guide itself. So I've got some space already created, and I'm just going to show you real quick some of the different designs that we can do with this thing. So let me pull it up and show you the markings. There's a 60 and a 45, and let me show you on the back. This right here holds that ruler in place. So the ruler is attaching underneath here and then on whatever angle that you want to use. This one is the 90-degree angle, right? So I'll flip it over, and it says it right there. And you've got 2 pins that will hold it. And then right in the middle, you've got the 45 and the 60 again. And then you've got a 90 again and 45. Why do we have these different ones on different places? We're going to demonstrate that. We'll explain why there's so many different holes instead of just one set of holes. So let's go ahead. I'm going to put it right away on a 90-degree, and then we'll just start working with that.
Can you clarify, is this tool only for long arms?
There is a mini crosshatch guide, and you could use it on your domestic, but I don't think it's as effective in the sense that you'll see how we use this is we're butting this up against the back of the machine and the front of the machine where these bars are right here. So you can see my hand. Right here is my belly bar, and this is actually going to butt right up against that. So that's really what makes this effective, but we could use it. We can even use just the straight line. Like if you just wanted this long type of ruler, I think 22 is probably too long for use on a domestic, but we have the 16-inch bar, and you could use that, and it is very, very useful. So that could be something that might be a good benefit for somebody. You know, sometimes if you just really need that longer ruler, this might be that option. But when you're using a really, really small frame, I think there's other easier ways. A lot of times with the long arm, you know, one of the benefits of that is you have a really big throat. So my machine is a 24-inch throat. So if I have this long ruler and I can stabilize it against my belly bar or the back of my idle bar, then I can sew all the way the length of my throat. So if you have a king-size quilt or a queen-size quilt, that can be really amazing to be able to get one straight line all the way down. And so right now I'm just going to tighten these up. We don't want the ruler moving around, so I'm just going to put these on there and tighten it up if I can get that thing on there. There we go. So I'm right in the hole, just self-tightens. I'm not tightening it up really crazy, ratcheting it up horrible. And I'm going to go ahead and move everything to the back of the machine, and we're going to just do a quick little straight line up at the back. So I'm going to flip it around, And what I want is I want to be able to move this ruler that way because I want to use these lines, right? So if I put it up there like this, right? This is why I might want to use different lines. So see how much more room there is? Let me tilt the camera just a little. See how the crosshatch bar has more on this side? So there's more support on this side. So if I want to, I should probably sew this direction, and then I can use the lines on the ruler as I move that way. So let's go ahead and we'll just set it up. We're right up against the bar. Notice that right now I've got to get it in place. I got to get the tip of this underneath the edge of the pole on this side. So let me tip the camera so you can see both sides. See right there? I've got to get this under there. He's actually underneath the lip right there because this is 22 inches plus the bar. So I have to kind of manipulate it just a little bit. So for example, if you have an 18-inch throat or you have a 16-inch throat, this particular size isn't going to fit your throat space. It might on an angle that way, but it's not going to fit at a 90-degree angle. Okay. So let's see if we can just get in a little bit closer because we're kind of stitching way back there. So I'm going to try and get us down a little bit. Okay. Can you guys see okay? I'm going to be reaching kind of under the camera, so I may bump it. Hopefully you guys will not mind too much. I'll be careful. I'll try to be careful. Let me show you the line that we're working with. I'll just scoot the machine out of the way so you can see what you can see. Okay. Right up there, I just got a little line, and I'm actually going to just close that space with a little stitch mark. So right here, I'm going to make this be 1/4 inch away, so I can use my spacing gauge to space that, just like that, just like I would any other time. And I'm going to put my needle right in there, up at the top. I do have my ruler base underneath. You'll see it kind of moving around a little bit. That's just going to be normal. So get my foot right in place, right in the corner of this box, and I'll just pick up my spot. Ooh, so let me show you something. I don't have any clamp out here, so I really want that. So let's make sure we have those clipped on. And what that does is that's going to prevent the fabric from trampolining or pulling towards me. Like if I'm going in a certain direction and I'm stitching, I can end up bringing the fabric with me if I don't have my bungees on. So let me loosen them up. They're a little too tight. Thought I had everything set, but I need a little bit more room here. So right here, let me just show you, like if I just pulled on this right now, this whole thing could go that way. So having your bungee on there is pretty important to make sure it won't do that. So let's just clip it like that, and I'll tighten these up. Notice that we're just on the edge, we're on the backing right here. We don't want to be clipping our batting, right? And our quilt top should be somewhat inside. This amount of space right here is really important for us to have because we don't want our ruler base hitting into our bungee clips, right? So let's get these clipped up. I'll get them tightened. So you can see that holds that just a little bit better. There's just a little bit more sturdiness right here now that we've got that. So let's get our foot right in place. I gotta lean in a little bit so I can see. It's kind of far back there. But we're gonna do some other stuff that's a little bit closer to the front so you'll be able to see everything. So I'm gonna tack it with some tacking stitches right there, right on the corner of this block. And we can cut those threads also. Let's keep our work area clean. I never want to work on my long arm with a lot of excess threads. They can get wrapped around this foot and really create havoc. So I'm just going to clip them short. I can clip them even a little shorter later on, but for now I just want them out of the way. So when we sew, this piece has to be pushed all the way flush on both sides. He can't be at an angle like that. This is what is squaring up that line. So now my foot is in the right place. I'm just going to get him to touch, right? So let's go ahead and stitch. I'm going to come right up to this line back here, and then I'll just sew across. I'm right in the existing stitch line. At this point, I have a choice. I can choose whatever spacing that I want to do. So let's just make one up. I'm going to get some ruler stickers for us. And the first one, let's go ahead and put at a 1/2 inch. We'll use blue, and then we'll do a wide one so we can sort of create a pattern. I think that these are super useful for this process because it is hard to see where you're going without it. So right there, this is on the 1/2 inch marked line, right there. So I'll just put this there. So that is going to give me a 3/4 inch spacing. I've got 2 spaces on the ruler, and the foot itself is giving me 1 additional space. Okay? And then let's put one more sticker, and we'll make it a little bit narrower for that one. And then we'll just do the 1/4 inch. So this is going to be our pattern. Right now, we're already on the blue. The blue is lined up. So just hold this in place and make sure that your foot is touching. And then you're just going to come down until you can see that your needle's in the line, and then just scoot over. And right here, we're just going to use 1/4. So we're using the pink. Go back, and then just scoot over. And each time, you're just going to use that pattern. Blue, pink, blue, pink.
You got to watch your arm here. It's blocking your camera.
All right, let's
focus.
Okay, let's see if we can bring the camera. It's a little bit far here, so I'm going to just see if I can bring it in a little closer. So then it won't be quite as far away. Hang on just a second, guys. We're way at the back of the machine, so we want to try and see if we can get you a little better view. All right, there you go. Yeah, sorry, my shoulder's in the way. That happens. All right, well, I'm going to try to keep my arm down here so we can do it. So let's see, what did we do? We did wide, narrow, so this one's blue. So you're going to line it up on the blue arrow right there, and then just sew up. Okay, and we're looking right there to get our foot centered right on this line. If you have a seam line or a reference line, you can look inside the foot. Typically, this is much further back towards the back of the machine than I would like to work. I can't see well inside the foot. So normally when I'm doing ruler work, I would make sure that the work's a little bit closer to me. But we're trying to show a few different designs, so we're just going to use this space right here, and then we're going to use this space and work towards us. So right now, let's go ahead and go to the pink line, which is this line. Notice how the foot needs to come back maybe 1 stitch. Okay, so make sure that the foot is following you, and then we'll go up, and you can just walk this up until that blue is right on the line, and then just come across until your pink line is lined up right there. Okay, and then scoot across. And as long as you're following your pattern, you're going to be okay. So these are small changes, right? I'm not moving very far. So I want to just kind of not try to rush it. I want to get lined up as nicely as I can. Most long arms will go pretty smoothly right to left on the straight line. They don't tend to wander off if you've got sort of your gears engaged. The weight of them will allow you to push forwards and backwards and push side to side relatively straight if you just give them a little push. So that's something that's really nice that allows us not to have to really make a big change. So let's see, we did our little pink. See these little guys right here? I got to kind of navigate around them. So we're going to have to do our pink. Let's get over 1 or 2 stitches. And then we're on the blue. Scoot over. And pink, and scoot over. And then this one blue, and just keep going until you can line up. You can actually use the ruler itself to push the foot along. I would always use your hand control too when you're doing that. I'm not just pushing with the ruler, I'm activating the ruler and with my hand. So those are both working for me. And we're right here on the blue. I can see the blue arrow, so that tells me that our next one is going to be pink, so a short distance, and get lined up on the pink. Same thing, come across a little bit, and then just kind of keep activating, and right there, this blue is lined right up on the existing stitch line. Okay, and we'll just keep going. So this one needs to be a little bit wider, so we'll just keep going. Notice that I do tend to start and stop with my button. I really like to be in control. I don't like the ruler to do anything that I am not expressly making it do. So right here on the end, I'm right at the very end of this box right there. Let me just come down a little bit so you can see more. So my needle is right in line with this stitched design right here that's already on there. And you can see we've created this really nice, perfectly spaced pattern. And that's one of the benefits. So this is that 90 degree. It's going to give you parallel lines from the front of the machine to the back. If I want to go the other direction, if I want to go this way, we'll show that a little bit later when we take this off. This doesn't really have a way to go like this. It's not really designed to be like that. You're not going to get this to fit in there nice and smoothly like that side to side. So this would be a little bit awkward. So in order to use it this way, I'm literally going to take it off of the bar and I'm just going to use it like a big giant ruler because it's awesome. Let's go ahead and adjust some of the positioning, and we're going to put a different design in. We're going to go ahead and put a 60 and a 45 degree design. So we'll show both of those. Let's take this off. We need our little tool at this point to unscrew everybody. So real easy, just get that in there and just unscrew that real quick. It's only two. And then I just usually unscrew the rest of it with my finger because it's easier, faster. All right. So there we go, we've got it. And at this point, we want to put some of these angles in. And what I'll do is, let's go ahead and we'll put it on the bottom, closer to me, and the bar is very long. So let's scoot over just a little bit so you can see a little bit better. And you can see down at the bottom, we're going to be actually putting the black bar right against the bottom, like that, okay? He's going to butt right up against this pole on the bottom. And then I'll do that, but I'm going to show you up there. We're going to work our way down towards the bottom, and we're going to put some cross hatching right in there. So let's get this aligned. We'll do these lines first. So I'm going to line it up right on this 60 degree. And I've got to match it up to the right angle so we can get those little dots in there. There we go. Make sure he's on the 60 degree and not that 45. That's because we want to make diamonds, essentially. That's what we're going to do. We're going to do two directions, and that'll give us a little diamond cross hatching down here on this side. I always want things to go faster. Like when I'm getting things set up, I'm like, oh no, they're watching me. Screw in the screw, hurry up. But you know, it just takes a minute. It doesn't take too long to get it all set up. So I'm just gonna adjust the bottom so I can get that last screw in there. And then we'll lay this down and I'll show you exactly what we're gonna do. All right, I'm gonna tighten it up. I do want just that finger tight on the bottom right there, just to make sure that we can get everybody secure. We don't want those screws rattling around. So just gentle tightening. And then notice that when I pull it all the way down so it's touching the bottom, look at how much space I have. I'm going to be able to quilt that whole thing all the way down, even going around the corner to the bottom if I wanted to. We're actually just going to diamond cross hatch just the little narrow piece right here, but we're going to come all the way down. And then we'll do a different one on the bottom, okay? So I'm going to put my tool up. I I have my So Steady long arm tray. I don't want it to get lost. We could start basically right where we're at, and we can do it one of two ways. So right now, if I lay it like this, and I try to move this way, I won't be able to use the lines on the ruler. So for this one, I actually want this to be on the back side, like that, okay? That's gonna be important so that as I advance the ruler this direction, then I can use the lines. So let's make sure we're in our seam allowance right there, and I'll just put my needle down. Right there, you can see he kind of tucked right onto it and pulled that ruler down, and I've got this bar pushed all the way towards me. So when I'm holding it, I'm not trying to push it or pull it, I'm just trying to stabilize it, but the black bar is holding it parallel and keeping it in place. So let's go ahead and we'll turn this on, and here we'll just go right up until we get right to the top, and I'm right about as far as I would want to go. I don't like to be right on the edge of the ruler, so that's probably as far as I'd want to go. We're going to scoot across a little bit, and what I might do is I think I'm going to roll the quilt a little bit and come down a little bit further so you guys will be a little bit closer to me. Okay, there we go. I think that's gonna be a little bit better. Oh, I should have left my needle in, right? Then my machine would have been traveling with me, but right now it didn't. Okay, so I think that's gonna be a little bit better. Again, we're gonna go ahead and decide what spacing that we want. So let's just pick a random spacing. We're gonna use 1 inch, so that's 3 spaces right on here. 1, 2, 3. And what that'll bring us to is this solid line right there will be the line that we're going to be using. So let's go ahead and we'll stitch across just a little bit, and we're going to push the long arm to align that third line. 1, 2, 3. It's this solid line, and if my foot will not allow me to get enough space, I can just take another stitch so that I can get this aligned right on that line, and then we're just going to sew right down. Okay, so let's hold this, and here we go. Okay, so we'll come right down until I see my needles right in my seam right here. Okay, let's make sure we have. So I just made a quick adjustment to my machine. My gears were engaged, making my machine a little bit heavy. So I'm just going to pull straight down. And what I want is to come down far enough that I can shift this over. So I can just use a little bit of eyeball, and we'll just keep going. And we're looking for that third space. So if I need to, I just keep sewing a little bit more. And I'm going to put my machine in needle down so that when it stops, it's in that down position. So right there, that's the 3 spaces. And I want to check before I stitch that my foot is touching. And I can just walk my fingers up to sew right there. Okay, and then same thing, we'll just come across as we get to this one. Can you guys see? Okay, yeah, I think you can. So we'll just scoot over, and then same thing. 1, 2, 3. If I can't quite get all the way over, just scoot that over, take another stitch, and now I'm right on that line, and I'm butted right up against the bar at the bottom. Before I stitch that long line, just make sure that I've got control of the ruler, my hand's not in the way. And notice that I can stitch this long line all the way down, and the ruler isn't really moving around. There's not even really any grip tape that's on here because this is stabilized by that bar down below. So let's just scoot down, we'll just come up close, and we may end up having to shift our camera just a little bit back so you can see better. We're getting kind of close. Anytime we kind of get in really tight, kind of looks crowded and doesn't let you see very well. Here you can really see the black bar right here. You can see that this is stabilizing. So as we did before, we're just going to scoot it over. I'm looking right back here to make sure that I'm on that third line. And if I'm not, I'm just going to take a few more stitches down and scoot this over until I'm on the line. And right now the ruler foot is actually touching, so I will hold this in place. And then just make sure the foot has good contact. You can walk your fingers up. If I need to hold back here for any reason, or bring my hand up here so I'm a little closer, gets me all the way up to the top there, right into this seam allowance. So that's a nice long line. I think our first one was a little wonky because I was adjusting the camera, but you can see as long as you hold it and your body is close to the machine, you're going to get really a nice pretty line with that. So my needle's right in the line, so let's just scoot down. When I pull it forward, if I just pull it straight, it makes it really easy for me to line that up. So right now, we're actually perfectly on that third line, and I'm all the way against the bar here, and I'll just do that next line. Let me just double check. Right there. So I'm going to come up one stitch. And then as I go, just walk my hand down so that I have good pressure all the way down until I get to that seam right there. This little design right here, that's the seam for that area. And then come right down the seam line. If I needed to scoot over a little bit, this is the end of the design, so I could actually shift across and complete some lines. I would have to kind of go back the other way. But let's see what we can do real quick. I don't think we can get enough right there. So let's see. This might be a place where I would either want to cut my thread and go back to the other side. Let's see if we can just come all the way down with a straight line, because right now we're at the very bottom corner. And remember, we said we're going to put a different design in. So I'm going to grab just my straight ruler, just a basic straight edge ruler, and just go down the line. Because we're not going to put the diagonals around the corner right here. So I'm just going to cut this off right here. And I think I'll use this side because I can use this line lined right up on the design. That'll give me a straight line all the way down. So this is the reference line that I'm using, and I'll just sew right down that. And for our purposes right now, we're at the bottom of the machine, so I'm actually just going to use the bar and sew right across. Okay? And then we'll just continue. We'll continue putting these lines in. So I'll just come right back. Sort of just put that boundary marker in there. If I did this with a regular piecing, I would have that available to me. So right now we've just come down a little bit further, and let's make sure you guys could see really well. Okay. And we're just going to keep moving that same angle bar and just moving it over so that we can have the same alignment. Now that we've come down a little bit far, that is our alignment. So we're not too far. We're about, half of an inch or so. So just come up until the foot touches, hold your ruler in place, just walk your hand. There's no rush. Just make sure the foot is touching nice. Okay? I'm looking inside the opening of the foot, and then I can move down this line, and I can just pull gently. I'm not going very far, just keep scooting. I'm looking for this third line right here. And there I am, right there. So I'm right on the line, and I'm actually touching. I believe I'm touching. Let's see. Yep, and here we go. Okay, so we're right down to the bottom here. Let's talk for a minute. Right now, I don't have enough room to actually quilt all the way down to here. If this was the bottom of the boundary, as I've quilted more towards the front of the quilt, I would shift the quilt backwards, right? I want to be able to quilt this. There's no reason not to. So what I would do right now is I'd loosen up the machine and I'd just move it 2 inches the other direction. And so let's just go ahead and do that. We have enough flexibility because we just rolled it forward just a few inches, so we can easily roll it back without a lot of distortion. But that would let us go around this corner and keep going until we fill up that whole space. Is that unusual if you were working on a long arm? It's really not. It's pretty common that if we want these really, really long lines there, we would have to adjust the position of the long arm over time. If your quilt is 80 inches long, you're not going to be able to sew 80 inches down. So what you would do is you would essentially tack off your line and then go back and complete as many as you could in the existing throat space. And then this would allow you to connect those lines when you roll the quilt up to the next section. That would allow you to line up those lines really nicely and keep them all nice and straight. So let's go ahead. We're just going to come down and we'll go around the corner. So we have to go the other direction. We have to go this way until we have enough room to line that up. So let's get this back in position and we'll line it up. So we're right on this space right there. Right there, I think. I didn't change my spacing. There we go. I think I did. I think we did 1 inch. I said 3, right? Right there. 1, 2, 3. Okay, foot's not touching, so let's go ahead and make sure it is before we start. And then just walk your hand up. Okay, and as soon as we're right inside the stitch line, then we can just sew down and we'll just keep finishing up. Just walk it down like that, looking for your line right there. Okay, and the foot is touching already, so we'll just keep going. Okay, and then right across, and then just looking right here, you can scoot this over to that third line. I need about 1 more stitch. Can you guys see that okay? Let's come down just a little bit. So I want you to see right now it wasn't quite lined up. See where that blue stitch line is? Now I can move it over just a little bit because I took a few extra stitches and I want to make sure the foot's touching before I start sewing. Okay, and we'll just keep finishing up. Okay, so I'm just walking across maybe a few stitches, walk it down. I'm perfectly aligned now. We'll put the last line in. Okay, I'm going to move this out of the way, the whole thing, the machine and everything. We'll tack it off. And this way you can really see how pretty those lines are and how nicely spaced. I love that. I love the opportunity to be able to do those nice long lines. And if I had an applique or I had something that was in the middle of this space, what I could do is just tack off the edges wherever the interruption was. Then you could pull the ruler down to the other side of the design. So like let's say there was applique right here. I could stitch right up to it, tack it off, hop over it on the same line, and continue the line down on the bottom. So that would be a really easy way if you had any type of decorative features or embroidery or special features in the center. You could just hop over that and do the line on the other side. So can you see that? That's pretty nice. I mean, I think it looks really nice and clean. The spacing is really even and it looks great. So what are we going to do now? We've done this with the bar going this way. Do we think that we can flip it over and get the other direction? Let's see. What do you think? I don't think so. It gives you the same angle. It's really annoying. How do I get the other angle? So this is exactly why we have all of those extra holes on there that allow us to choose where the ruler is best suited and which direction that it's going to go. So let me go ahead and adjust it. We're actually going to take the 2 pins out and we're going to put it the other direction. And just as a reminder, this is a 60-degree setup on this. So that's the angle that we're going to get. If we do 60 degrees in 2 different directions, we're going to get beautiful diamond cross hatching. It is so gorgeous. Any questions? Anyone?
Just when it's time to tack off, could you kind of show how you tack off and do that on a long arm?
Okay, so I got my 2 pins. Honey just said that somebody would like to know how to tack off, so we'll try to integrate that process. And we, again, want these 60-degree angles. And notice this is going to give us the opposite. Still 60 degrees, but in the opposite orientation. So let's go ahead and put this on. I'm going to have to pull it towards me a little bit. but I'll let you see. We're going to line it up. And this is the back side, so you can see we have to kind of get this right in there. See how these are fitted? That helps to stabilize everybody so we can get the right one. But we need to make sure, which one of these do we want? Do we want the front or the back? We want this one, so when I line it up, I'm just going to make sure I aim for that. Okay? And I want the screws to go in from the front. So, you know, I can hold it like this if I need to and just kind of start the screw and get it in there. That'll hold it a little bit so we can flip it over more easily. That way you can see what you're doing. And then let's get the other one in. Sometimes if I don't have the thread straight, it'll act up. It's a little hard to get it. So let's flip it over. So I would try to do as many possible lines as I could in the same orientation, right? Try to do all of them with the bar on whatever side it is. And then when you're going back and you're finishing the other side, that's when you would try to flip it over and do all the other sides at once. That would minimize the change up of this tool, having to flip it over, but it is great that it's flexible and it can do those different sides. Otherwise, you really could not get that cross-hatching design that you might want to get. It's going to be very, very pretty once we're done. Okay, I've got my tool set. I'm going to put it away. I can line it up on either side. If it's more convenient for me, I can have it on this side. Then I would have to go that way because the ruler lines are going to be advancing this way. So I'm going to scoot a couple of things off here because we have some tools on the long arm and we don't want to have them in our way.
And could you tell us what kind of ruler base do you have underneath the fabric?
So I have, my machine is a Handy Quilter Fusion, which is a 24-inch throat, and the ruler base that I have on it is the Handy Quilter ruler base. So I'll pull it closer. It's actually I have one. I'll pull it out so you can see it. Don't ask me why I have to. I have to. But this is it right here. This is what it looks like. Okay, I'll even flip it over. There's actually some metal posts that are on my machine that this actually will sit right into. I'll kind of tip it so you can see the orientation like that. So this actually slides right on, and these allow it to fit very securely, a little bit tight. This is just a protective cover that's on here. I actually would take this off. I haven't used this one yet. My other one has my ruler work glider cut to fit this so that I can cover up the bar right here where the machine actually sits on there so that all of this is really smooth. And I recommend that if you're using any of the pin-driven templates, because the pin templates can get caught in this gap between these areas. So with my glider on, it covers that up. So what you need as far as a ruler base is most manufacturers have something for their machine for ruler work. So you want to use the tool that is available that best fits your machine. So if your machine is such and such brand, check with your dealer first. Check with your manufacturer first because they typically will have the best fit item. So Steady does make ruler bases. We have some different criteria that determine what you need. So if you have any questions on whether or not you can have a ruler base from So Steady, the best thing to do is email info@SoSteady, tell them what machine you have and what frame that you're using. Maybe even send them some pictures, and a lot of our designers and our tech specialists can make an assessment for you and help you figure out what do you need if they can help you. And if they can't, they'll tell you. So we do have several different options, but like I said, I think a manufacturer is a good choice too because they are making it to fit, custom fit their machine, which is what I have. Let's go ahead and we'll start right now. We're going to go ahead and we're going to do the cross hatching here. We're going to use the same exact spacing that we use, which is those 3 lines. 3 lines translates to 1 inch spacing. So what that'll be for us is going to make it easy for us to have the same look. We want the ruler on this side so that as I advance the machine, the look of that is going to stay the same. So I'm going to bring you guys in a little closer because we're kind of far back. I want to make sure you can see really good. And then as we get closer towards the front, we will adjust the position and make sure that you can still see. So let's make sure we're straight. Hopefully that's a good view for you. Where do we start? Wherever we want. I pretty much am going to start within 1 inch of this corner. I don't want to have a big gap for my first line. See how this line right there, that first one is less than 1 inch? That's what I want too. And you can even put this on there at 1 inch, 1, 2, 3, 4, and put it right against the corner. And you could say, okay, that's basically where my first line is going to be. Like if this was 1 inch, it would be like that. And then you would back your ruler off that 1 inch. You could even put your foot right into that space right there, like this. So I'm going to bring my needle down and up and just pull my machine a little bit, and there's my bobbin thread. So I have that on the top. I'm going to hold it, and I'm going to just put some tacking stitches in there. What that does is that anchors those first stitches so they're not going to pull out, and then I can trim these and get those out of the way. Then I don't have any threads following me around, which I hate. And then since the needle is already seated, push this part all the way back against this bar. It should be flat, shouldn't be wobbly. And right here is all I need to hold. I've only got a very short distance that I'm going. Okay? And I think what you'll see when we sew on this side and we go this way, for me it's a little easier. Visually it's going to be easier for you, but it's also because I'm used to controlling the ruler with my left hand. If you're a left-handed user, you may find that it's easier when you're going that direction if you're controlling the ruler with your right hand. But all my machine controls are on this side, so I do need to control the machine and the handle right here with the start-stop. On the other side, I only have a needle up-down function and speed control, so I can't really control anything with this side of the handle. For me, all my control is really on this right-handed side. So that's why you'll see that I'm always grabbing this side. I can't really do it from the other side the way my machine is set up. Let's go ahead and we'll sew down. We're using that same reference line, so we'll just come straight down. And you'll see with cross-hatching that we're going to end up with double stitching. You know, as we go, the box was already there, the seam, but we're going to have stitch, open, stitch, open, stitch, open, all the way down as we sew. So after I would be finished with my cross-hatching, I probably would go back around and ditch the whole thing just to make sure there's no open areas, right? This box was already stitched before we even started. But if it wasn't, just like we have up here, you would have closure here, we come across, we stitch on that side, so you would have closed, open, this one would be closed, open, closed, open, and that's exactly what you get with crosshatch. So know that that is normal, and you would end up making a decision whether you wanted to close those spaces or you didn't. It's totally up to you. You have the choice. So right now, let's get ourselves on that third line. I'm on the second one. So what I'll do is I'm just going to start this, and I'm just going to come down a little bit, and I'm going to push the ruler over until I'm on that third line. And let's make sure that the foot's touching before we do the next one. Get to the top, try to look right in there so we can go right across the top, and then advance the ruler. Make sure we're pushed all the way against the back, and I think I needed one more stitch. So you can see I'm definitely changing my hand position on the fly. That's okay. I think as you get better and better, you should be able to do that, and you shouldn't feel weird about doing that. That's normal. So still need to go down a little further. I think sometimes with these angles, you think that you're there, but it's often a little further than you think because you're on that angle. We're only going, 3/4 of an inch down, and the foot's taking its own space. But if we don't have that angle, it's going to be much further. We're going to have to travel a lot of a bigger distance. So can you guys see? Let's see if we can come out a little bit so we can get that wider view since we're getting towards the front. Okay, there we go. All right, and you can see this is going to be a nice long line. Ready? Here we go. I think I'm all lined up. Looks good. Because the bar in the back is holding position, I don't have to worry. So I'm just going to come down to this corner right there, because now we're going to scoot this way. We're going to have to just come down this side. So I'll scoot this over, get on my line, and I do have to go back a little bit to catch that. Okay, and then same thing, come down straight until we can line up on that third reference line. Right, one more. Still have another 1/4 inch to go. So I'm making sure that everybody back there is lined up. If I can't line up, I need to come just a few more stitches. So right now, I'm on that third reference line and we can just put this line in. Okay, so looking right in the foot each time and trying to get the needle aligned so you can come right down just like that. Just pull straight forward. And then advance this, getting on that third reference line. If you went too far, which I think I did, I went a little too far. I was overzealous there. I'm just gonna push back straight until the foot is touching. Okay, and then we're at the bottom, so we're gonna have to scoot this way until I can get lined up on that third reference line again. Double check every time that you are pushing this all the way towards the back of the machine. Let's see, can you guys see? Let's come down a little bit. I'll get you guys under the handles there so you can see. Let's come out to the side a little bit. This way. We'll turn the camera. There you go. Okay, so you can see that we did already sew that line. We're down at the bottom and we've come across this bottom part right here, and we're just going to go back up this side now. I'm going to make sure that we're up against the back bar. So right there until we get the needle right in the line, coming forward, and then just push the ruler right against that back bar to get aligned. And then I'll just come straight down. I might be able to get one more, I'm not sure. I think we were pretty tight. I think it is worth putting one in if it's like less than a 1/4, forget it. So I think we're at the point where we can't really fit anything else in there. So I'm gonna just tack this off. Let's come in so you can see the tacking feature just a little bit better. We'll kind of get really in close so everybody can see this. This is just how we would do it if we were on our domestic machine, although we cannot raise the presser foot. So right now, if this is where I'm done stitching, I would just take a few stitches right here. On my machine, I can press my needle up down button and I can hold it, and it has what's called a needle walk function. That means the needle will continue stitching very, very slowly. And then I can just take whatever tacking stitches I want. I usually do about 5 or 6. At this point, the needle and the thread right here, there's no slack in it. It's very taut, just as if we were going to keep stitching. If I push the machine away, I'm lengthening the bobbin thread and this top thread as well. So by pushing it away, I've created some slack in the thread. This is how much slack. And then I can needle down and up. And when I push the machine away, look what happens. Right away, it's going to pick up that bobbin thread because the machine is pulling that thread backwards, and this has to follow. And this is the slack that you've created underneath there. So now we can cut those threads. Okay. And then this is the design that we've got so far, and I love it. I think it looks so awesome. I love diamond crosshatching. It's my favorite. It's so pretty. So hopefully that was fun for you guys, and you were able to see how pretty that is, and we were able to get those really long lines with that. Really nice, precise measurements just by shifting this over. So having this long line can be very useful when you're doing those angled cross hatching like that, it really makes it easy to not have to shift the ruler down part way and then maybe it gets misaligned. This way, we're just keeping it butted right up against the back and we can sew the whole length of it. It helps make the line straighter over that longer distance. That's really its major function. So what I thought we would do over here is let's go ahead and we'll put the 45-degree cross hatching and we'll show you what would happen like if we were coming around the corner. Okay, so let's scoot just a little bit this way. We're going to have to adjust the template one more time so we can get the 45-degree angles, and just like we did for the 90 and the 60-degree, we'd have to do it in two different directions. So let's go ahead and we'll take this off. I'm going to just take this top peg out if we're switching to 45, and I'll show you why real quick. And then I'll just loosen this one just slightly, but I won't take it out. Right there, the two holes on this are right next to each other. They're super close. Here, I'll pull them up closer to you. See that? 60 and 45. So all we have to do is just pivot this slightly so that we can get that 45-degree, and then we can just put the pin right in. Okay, I just finger tighten it. So if we do 45-degree cross hatching, what we're going to get is, in all likelihood, some squares, little square boxes, because that's really what you get when you're on that 45. They're going to be on point squares. So again, we can do the same thing. We want to decide which side is the ruler going to be on. If it's on this side, then we're going to bring the machine over to this other side, and we're going to put this up against there, and that'll be where we'll start our design on that side. Okay, so let's go ahead and make sure you guys can see really good. Get you up towards the top, tighten it up, and I'll see if I can just zoom in maybe just a little bit so you can get up towards the top with me. There we go. Okay, so again, we can decide on the spacing. And what I think would be fun is let's do two different spacing. We're going to do 1/4 inch and 1 inch, and we're just going to create the pattern down this way. We could start in the corner, but you know, you need to be a sort of a little bit of way so that you can have an angle for that initial stitching. Okay, put my needle down and cut these threads. So I have a few little tails there that I would cut off, but let's go ahead and get started. So we're coming right down into this space, and I'm just going to keep on going. Looking to get my needle right in this line, and then once I'm in the line, that's when I can go ahead and just sew down a little bit. And right now we said we want to create the pattern of 1/4 inch. So when I come forward, all I want is to go a tiny bit. I just want to go 1/4 inch. So I'm going to scoot this over until the ruler's touching, and I'm pretty close to it, but I think I'm about a stitch away. So the ruler is on the line, okay? And then we'll go across, and we want a 1 inch spacing. So again, that's 3 of these lines. So just scoot this over. Right there, I'm on 1, 2, 3. It's this solid line right there. And that solid line is basically marking every 1/2 inch. I'm gonna just bring it up closer so you can see what I mean. Okay, so on here, if we're on this line, that is a 1/2 inch because the ruler foot is adding a 1/4 inch. So that's 1/2. This is 1, 1 1/2, 2, etc. So the solid lines are going to mark that 1/2 inch break every time. All right, and let's see, we're right on our line, so we're ready to sew, and here we go. So trying to get the needle right in this line. And if I was, you know, not with a camera between where I am and what I'm doing, I would actually look in there and I kind of look over the foot. I also have a little bit of low lighting to reduce glare, but if you have the lighting right here or you have some side lighting on your machine, I think that would be really useful for you to be able to see that you're going to be able to stitch right down this line. And we said, wait, we said 1/4 inch, so don't go too far. Don't go crazy. So let's see, I'm right on my 1/4 inch line right there. Okay, and then here, we're going to go further to get that 1 inch. So scoot over till we get to the solid line. There we go. And then right here, just a little bit to get that 1/4 inch, and we'll shift the ruler.
You're really in your arm again.
Am I? Yeah, it's tricky. Okay, let's see if we can get you in a little closer so I can keep my hands out of the way. Okay. There we go. All right, so what we did at this point, we were lined up with the ruler right on the stitch line. So can you see that? The stitch line's right there. And we're just going to push this over so we're aligned right on it. And then we'll sew. This is that 1/4 inch echo. Walk my hand up. And I want to show you something before we kind of shift around right here. I'm going to turn the machine off. This right here, this is my ruler base. Right on the very edge. I can actually see it. It's right here. And I'm just going to tip the camera up so you can see that the clips are also right on the edge. That's about as far as I would want to go, because the clip is actually getting pushed up right there by this ruler base. So that's why this space can be really, really important to make sure that you leave enough room. And if you don't have enough room, you can put a little 2-inch sash, like a 2.5-inch strip, and you could pin it right out here, and then it would extend and you could clip that. And I would maybe double or triple that. That helps prevent any stretch right there with that. If you double that 2.5-inch strip, that'll give you a little bit more width out here to get your clips away from the edge of your quilt, because you don't want this bumping into this and causing problems. A lot of times it'll kind of prevent your movement, plus it can actually break your clip. So that's kind of important to keep track of. So right here, we're on this line. We're just going to come straight down right here on this existing stitch line. That's going to be what we need to do. We've got the 1/2 inch right here. We've got to come down a little bit further now so we can get our 1 inch. So we need about 3 more stitches to get aligned right there. So those are the 3 spaces, and now we want our foot touching. So push back if it's not all the way on it. Okay, and we'll just keep adjusting as we move forward. We want to be able to let you see, so we're just going to have to keep the camera shifting as we move from front to back. And that's one of the things that I think is a little challenging about this, is we are using the entire length of our long arm from the front to the back, which is 24 inches. So we can't show everything up close and far away at the same time. Right now, we've done the wide spacing right here. So when we come forward, all we want to do is come forward just a few stitches. It's about 4 stitches in order to get us lined up so that we can touch right back there. So you can see we might need just maybe 1 more to get lined up. We want this edge right on that stitch line, and that's the 1/4 inch. So right into that seam over there. And then we'll stitch right down this. If you are not sure of your spacing, you can just move this and look. This was the 1/4 inch, so this one's got to be a little bit wider. Pushing this over until I can get onto that 3rd line. It looks like I need just maybe 2 more stitches. Pushing it over and getting it lined up. I'm right here on that solid line, and make sure your foot's touching before you start sewing. And right there into the line, and then coming forward that 1/4 inch, and just push the ruler over so you can get that alignment. right there. You can see all over here, I'm getting a little sound and noise and everything on the clip, and it's just kind of in the way. All right, let's see if we can come down a little better, give you guys a better angle. So we had zoomed in a little bit, so I'm going to kind of zoom back out so we can see a little bit more. I think this way you'll really be able to see those clips there and what we want to make sure we're watching for with those. Make sure that we're not breaking these or getting this, you know, too much pressure from your ruler base, because they definitely are right in this way. This one is the edge right here, and he's just about to hit this clip. So sometimes, you know, you can just kind of scoot this over a little bit, and then when you come down further, move it back that way. Okay, so we need that longer space right here, a little bit wider space. So scoot that over and get right on the straight line and make sure all of this is lined up right along the back. Okay, and this one is just a short distance right there, just enough to line up the ruler right there and come back. Let's see, I think we're on some clips right here. Gotta check some things. I'm gonna scoot that clip over. I'll put him back on in a minute, but he's making it difficult for me to move. Okay, so then again, we're at the 1/4 inch and we'll just keep moving down each time. So you can see it's not really hard to get this lined up visually. I think it is pretty easy to see that. And the reason I have all those ruler stickers on there is if for some reason you were struggling to have the visual that you wanted, you can just put a little arrow sticker right on the line that you want to line up on. And depending on how long your reference line is, how long your stitch line, then you can put more. We're on this solid line right there. So I'll just get this one off too. You can see we can reuse these little ruler stickers and readjust them. They stick a little bit when you put them back on. If you treat them gently, then they probably won't tear and you can reuse them, right? This is the line that we're going to be looking for. And the other one is just the edge right here. So we don't need to worry about that, right? So we're looking for that right on that pink line, right there. And here we go. Make sure your ruler is touching the foot. Okay, now I want to show you something. We're kind of down at the corner right here. So let me show you. If I wanted to continue these cross-hatching lines and just keep on going, you know, I can definitely do that. I don't have to stop, but I would have to come down and around the corner to have these lines continue. So at this point, I would hold this ruler in place and I would just look inside. You're going to travel right down like that and come right over till you're touching, and then you can continue this line. Now, depending on how far you need to go, you know, this is the reference line. We're not going to be able to get all the way down. This is the edge right here, but this could be a nice reference that we could use as we go along. The other piece is we can now rotate this and we can work from the other side. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to just flip this over. And we're putting it on the bottom bar. We're still touching the ruler foot. And now I can sew the rest of that distance all the way down to the bottom. So we'll show you what I mean. Okay. And if we can't get all the way to the bottom, this is the quilt needing to be rolled. So right now we are right down on the bottom edge just like we were before. So I could sew essentially as far as I can and then I can tack off. And then if I needed to put another line in, then I could do that. So let's go ahead and we'll just sew down a little bit further and then I'll show you the kind of the workaround that we can do. So we'll just put a little bit of this line in right here. And then we'll just tack it off right there. This would be like if you had a really big piece that you just needed to extend the lines, I would just stop right there, tack this off, And when we roll the quilt and we're ready to advance down to the rest of it, then that's where we would connect those dots. We would just pick up our thread sort of right in that stitch line and connect. It's pretty common that you might have some kind of connection line like that, right? And now, let me just show you. We'll just scoot this over, pull the quilt back in, and now we can start working that way on the inside. Okay, and let's see, I think we'll roll it up a little bit so that we can actually stitch all the way down to this bottom frame. So we'll just bring it up a few inches. That'll make it easier for us to get to the bottom. Let's make sure our tools are not in jeopardy. All right, so we got everything basted down here. This is already secure. So let me just show you where we're at. We have enough room now that when we put the bar down on the bottom, we'll be able to stitch all the way to the very bottom of the design without any problem. And like I said, that's pretty normal that you might have some kind of connection like that. So at this point, I could even put that back on, and I probably could have made that same adjustment with the needle in. I could have just put the needle down right there and just shifted everything, and then I could have kept sewing. But this way we can make sure that we're going to get a nice good fit. We'll put our needle right where we left off. A little tacking right there, just like we talked about before. We've got the bobbin pulled up, and then we can line everybody up. Let's cut these threads. Right here, the bar is going to hold in place, and now we can sew all the way down to the bottom. All we need is the foot touching and this bar right where it needs to be. So let's just come down. Okay, and we'll scoot over. And this is that 1/4 inch. We're putting the 1/4 inch echo. So let's make sure we're all aligned. And there we go. I think we need to scoot back just 1 or 2 stitches right there. There we go. Okay, and then as we go around the corner, just like we did before, we're gonna have to go around the corner, just a few stitches at a time, and get lined right up. Okay? We should be able to touch that right there, that line, and then we'll just keep finishing that up. Okay, so that's how we can kind of go around the corner if we need to. And then we would just go the other direction, just like we talked about before. So this is a way that we can do a lot of great cross-hatching. And I have a quilt that I did previously that has a really big center applique area, and it's got this cross-hatching that kind of stops in the center and goes around the design. And what I'll do is I'll try to post a picture of that so you can kind of see the idea. Let's see where we at on time. Do you guys want me to just do a couple of the lines going the other way just so you can see the impact? Or maybe just do maybe like 2 more and then we'll just go the other way? This part right here, I want to say that we can't always make this match on all sides. So like if we were doing a full square, you would want to just keep these lines going all the way across to the top. That way, they would just match over there. We can't say that they're going to cross exactly here or cross exactly there. I can't make them start at this 45 degree and just be perfect, especially if we're doing a pattern like this. They won't always match up. But if we start on one side and we go all the way across on that angle, and then we just come back all the way on the opposite angle, it will still look symmetrical. It'll fill nicely. So that's the key. Don't try to go from both sides. Just pick your one side and fill all the way across like that until you can't fit anymore. And that's one of the benefits of having this nice long line and being able to flip it from the top to the bottom. You can keep those lines consistent over that distance no matter what. So that's going to be really fun and powerful. So let's just scoot down a little bit. Here we want that same relationship, so scoot this over, and then we'll try to use our same third line. Let's see where we're at. Right there, 1, 2, 3. We have to come back a little bit, we're too far. Yes, 1, 2, 3, right there. On this bottom, let's just come over that 1/4 inch and we'll push this over and line it up. Get it right on the reference line. Walk your hand as you go. And I'm making sure that I'm pushing the machine also back. That's helping to make sure that we're getting that consistent measure, that the foot is actually staying in contact with the ruler that whole direction. Oh, did I change my spacing? Looks like he's a little bit wider. Okay, let's flip him over and we'll just do 1 or 2 of the lines in the opposite direction just to show you what you get. And then I think we'll probably call it a day. So we did the initial one over here. This is the 60°. And we've done just a simple straight line pattern with alternation with a wide and then a narrow. But we can also freelance on these, and I'm just going to pull this off, and I'll show you that freelance thing after we shift him over. All right. So this is where we're going to flip him over to the other side. And we are on the 45°, so we're going to just put the bottom one in first to get that center aligned. Right there. That's the hardest one, I think. If you get that one aligned, then you can get the other ones lined up. So we're right in this center position. This is where both the 45 and the 60 and the 45 pivot from. So put the bottom one in first, and then you can align whichever one of those 2 angles that you want right there on the front. Right, because they're right close together. Okay, I'm just going to tighten that up. And what we'll do is I'll just come down just a little bit so that we're not starting the design right at this point. But we can if we wanted to. And again, we want to be on whichever side is going to let us use the ruler and advance. So let's just come down a little bit. And then I got clips in the way, so we're going to put the back clip on. And the front clip I'm going to take off for just a little bit to keep that out of our way. We definitely need stability on that quilt sandwich, but we need to shift this over a little bit. So let's go ahead and we'll sew just a little bit. Try to get our needle right up to this center point. And then we'll just put a few reference lines in just so you can see what that 45 looks like. Let's make sure our camera will stay in place. So we have the same pattern, so just go up a few stitches, getting yourself right in that same line, and we're scooting that to get this aligned right on the reference line. So let me make sure that we're on it. Ooh, I can barely see it, but I think we're on it. Squaring up the bottom. And then coming straight up and getting this lined up on that third reference line right there. 1, 2, 3. I think we went a little too far. 1, 2, 3. There we go. So right here, we're right on the very edge of the ruler. So I would want to flip him around and use him on the other side. So let's do that. And this way we should have the same angle. So let's scoot up a little bit. Right there. Oh, what happened? That's bonbon time, right? I'd take that out. He was not straight to the bar. So let's just go ahead and we'll scoot up a little bit and we'll just do one more. I'm gonna make sure that I have this anchored all the way up on the bar. And then let's go ahead and scoot these down a little bit so that we have more freedom right here for our ruler base, because we're right on the edge. This is where you really want that extension. So putting those little extenders on there allows you to get your clips well out of your way. See, because you can see right here, they're hitting this. Oh, it's complicated. I'm gonna actually grab my strap and I'm gonna show you how we can line up a little strip and make sure that we don't have that problem. So let me just grab that real quick. So these are just some 2.5 inch strips, right? And I'm just gonna fold them in half, like that. I'm gonna scoot the camera out so I can show you this adjustment. This can be really powerful for somebody that needs it. So rather than try to keep going with what's not working, let's make the adjustment and make it correct. I've got a couple of my long arm pins. They're these heavy duty pins like that. They're very painful if you stab yourself, and they're really sturdy. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pin this right there like that, the pin on the top, and just weave this in on the edge like that a few times. And I usually put the head of the pin down, and then we'll do the same thing here, down on the bottom, and pin it like this. So just weave that pin, and then this sticking up, put that down so he's down below. That way you won't get poked if you accidentally run your hand across that. And then I'm just gonna flip that over like that, and then I can run this clip right on there. Honey, can you go and tighten those up then? Just pull up, it's like, yeah, there you go. And then it pops down into place. There, that's tight enough right there. That's good. Okay, and then same thing, we'll do this one. And then we'll just tighten it gently. What we want is just enough. We don't want to torque this and pull this. We just want this to get that out of the way. So now there's nothing obstructing our ruler base right there. And that is very important. That's something that you can easily do. It gets those clips out of the way, and it gives you more room here to get right up to the quilt edge without your ruler base having a problem. So that's just something important that you can do. It's not expensive. You don't need any fancy tools. You just need your pin and you're good to go. All right, so let's show you this last bit. I'm gonna go ahead and take it off, and I'm gonna show you just some freelance that you can do with these. These rulers are pretty heavy and they're pretty long. And if I want to do some lines going a different direction than I can easily get with the guide, I can still use the ruler and do it however I want. So let's go ahead and take this off, and I'll show you what I mean. I can put stable tape grips on these if I want to. I'm not going to. I think it's heavy enough that we won't need that, but I could if I want to do that. And I'm going to keep my spacing gauge handy too. Okay, taking the guide off. And then let's just bring the camera over to this empty space real quick. So if I just want to do straight lines, I can go ahead and just put that on there and do a straight line. And if I have a reference, like if this is the reference line, I can use that and I can create whatever spacing. So if you have piecing or something like that that you need to keep that as your space, you can do that. So I'm just going to detach over here so we can sew on this side. Let me get my bobbin up. That bobbin is still tagged in, so we're just going to break him so we can sew. Let me scoot this over, and we'll put this on this side. So the ruler, the crosshatch guide can go this way, but maybe it can't easily go this way, right? Because this is what we talked about, where it doesn't have a nice, easy resource to go this way. So if I want to go this way, because this is what's better for the quilt, I can use the piecing as a guide, and I can still take advantage of that really long line that I can get with this ruler. So I'll put my needle down and tack it. And now I can use this straight line or any line. I can go, as far as I want, squaring this up to the existing design. Then when you sew, you're only going to sew what you can hold. So if I want to, I'm not going to sew a million miles without adjusting my hand. Right here, I'm on the limit of my hand, so pick your hand up. Okay, and just keep that same alignment and let your hand hold you in place. Oh, you guys, it must be time to quit because my bobbin just ran out. That's all we have. But I think that just shows, we can't necessarily put this ruler easily this way, but that isn't the limit of its use. I can just put it right on here and use that straight line and now go up. So if I want to do that cross hatching in the opposite direction, this ruler is very good for that, and it has quite a few lines, and I can put it on the back of the ruler or on the front, whatever the design requires. So there's a lot of freedom and flexibility with this tool, and if you use it properly, it can do great. It looks amazing. Like you can see, we did a really good job on this one. Over on that side, as we turned the corner, we didn't do quite as well. It got a little wonky on that last one. So I would probably want to come back in and do those echo lines. We only had 2 that were really kind of off. But, I would probably pull those out right there, and I would redo those so that I can make sure I have a really nice, pretty echo right there. You can see how they went a little awry. But that's probably because I wasn't holding the ruler nice and straight like I need to. Anyway, I know that this is not for everybody. I know this is long arm time. So anyway, we hope that if you're a long armer, you found this useful. This is a tool that you can use for any kind of straight line work. As I said, you can go any direction, but it offers you a really long line, which is really great. So have a great day, and next month, I think we're going to do clamshell options on the long arm because I've got some really pretty fun designs, and we'll be mixing some free motion in there as well. So doing the classic long arm in different shapes, both the squat oval and the classic. And then we'll also be doing some fills for those. So that's going to be the second Sunday of October. Nope, let's see, I might be gone. Well, we'll post it, but the next long arm session we have, I think we're doing clamshells. So you'll be able to look forward to that if that's something you're interested in. So thanks a lot, you guys. Have a great night.